This is a continuation of the episode where I traveled to Malaysia and Sri Lanka. In this episode, I traveled from Kandy to Sigiriya, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site with an ancient rock fortress located high above the plains. I'm going up to the top of the rock here in Sigiriya, Sri Lanka. Getting a little dizzy actually. This spiral staircase. When I finally got to the top, the views of the surrounding countryside were spectacular. Sigiriya was developed into a complex city and fortress between 477 and 495 AD. The following day, I took a short bus ride to Dambulla, Sri Lanka, where I visited the Rangiri Dambulla Cave Temple, which is another UNESCO World Heritage Site. After I exited the temple, on my way down the hill, I saw these monkeys. From my base in Dambulla, I visited the ancient city of Polonnaruwa, which was my fourth UNESCO World Heritage Site on the trip. I checked out of my accommodation in Dambulla and then headed to the sacred city of Anuradhapura, which is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I explored the city, stayed there for one night, then I headed off to the east coast of the country and the city of Trincomalee, where I stayed there for one night. The next day I headed south on a bus which I thought was bound for Arugam Bay, but unfortunately it stopped in Kamunai. So I had to stay there for one night before heading south the next day to Arugam Bay. The following day I headed inland and up the mountain to the cool countryside of Ella, where I climbed Adams Peak, and it was very cold in the morning, but I got an amazing view of the sunrise. Then I rode the rails for one of the most amazing train rides that I've done in my life. I also visited a tea plantation to see how tea is harvested and produced. My next stop was Marissa, located on the southwest corner of the country, where I went on a whale watching trip, but unfortunately I didn't see any whales. Then I headed off to the old town of Gale and its fortifications, which was my sixth UNESCO World Heritage Site on the trip. Then I traveled north of Gale to the Kosgoda Sea Turtle Conservation Project, where I was able to release some small baby sea turtles into the ocean. I traveled back south to Hikkaduwa, where I stayed for the night. On my final day in Sri Lanka, I traveled from Hikkaduwa to the Colombo airport by train, where I boarded a flight to Malé, Maldives. When I arrived in Maldives, I was amazed at how clear the water was as I stood on the ferry pier waiting for the ferry from the airport to downtown Malé. In Malé, I visited the National Museum and I wandered around the city where I went to the National Stadium. I took a ferry from downtown Malé to the island of Vilingili, where I visited the Vilingili public beach. While I was staying on the island of Hulhumale, I did some amazing snorkeling and scuba diving, where I saw reef sharks and many different kinds of fish. On my last day in Maldives, I visited the fruit market in Mali. I did some final wandering around the city. Then unfortunately my time in Maldives came to an end, and I took a flight to Kuala Lumpur and a bus to the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Malaka, where I wandered around the city and visited some of the historical sites. I took a bus back to Kuala Lumpur and then a flight to Bangkok. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment in the comment section below, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you're notified when I post future videos. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.